Africa, and I have been in the industry for at least 9 years now, since 2011. Largely, we deal with horticultural crops, consulting, training, extension service. So that means we literally work with a lot of farmers. And I'm also a farmer, personally.
Great to hear. And thank you for joining us. And I'm really happy to have you with us, Michael. Great. So let me just jump into it. Agriculture, huge sector, but also a lot of challenges. Simon, what's your take on the biggest challenges in terms of the agriculture sector in Africa? And maybe if you could describe a little bit how you look at the the sector from your standpoint. Oh, I think you're on mute. Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for that question. And to begin with, I will mention especially the background that causes these challenges in Africa, and especially also in Kenya. For example, we are talking about a world population that is growing exponentially. At the moment, standing, let's say, about 7.5 billion people, and it is expected, of course, to rise by 2050 to around 10 billion. The same case that is happening to Kenya at the moment, we stand at 47 million population, expected to double again by 2050. That already tells you that we are sitting on a time bomb, because exponential population growth is one of the key areas that is affecting agriculture. Because, for example, we need to feed these people, and we also need to make some more land. In some cases, people make some more land to feed these people instead of using the available land to get more output. So one of the challenge I will mention is population growth. Number two, I will mention also productivity of our land as another major challenge that is growing, because as we move, because we want to produce enough food for this population, then it means we exploit the natural land that we have. So over a period of time, you find that the nutrients that were there are diminishing over time. So the productivity in an hectare of land goes down. And again, also the population, you find that most young people are not looking at agriculture as one of the investment areas they will venture into. So they're living for the old people, the old generation that have been doing the tilling the traditional ways. So they are still the same people who are doing cultivation at the moment. So that is a big challenge, because moving forward, we want to feed these generations. But then the people who are doing this agriculture, the old ones that still have the old technologies of agriculture.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that, Simon. And yeah, I agree on a lot of the challenges that you mentioned. Michael, what's your take on this? Being somebody that is, both a farmer but also a professional working within this sector.
All right, thank you so much. I'll look at it mostly from a macro perspective. Some of the main challenges that we have in Africa and globally in terms of agriculture is one, climate change. The climate has been changing for quite a while, and we seem not to be aware, or at least we are not very keen on the changes that are happening. So nowadays, our rain patterns have changed. We have had rains in January when normally it's not part of it. We have had new pests that are coming on board. Previously they were known. All of a sudden now they're devastating our crops. We're looking at scenarios like locusts that are now ravishing through Africa, and currently they're also in Kenya, in almost 15 counties. The second challenge that I feel is a big one is finance. We do not have access to enough finance to be able to fund the agricultural productivity, especially at the smallholder level, where we find that farmers are not able to afford seeds, quality seeds. They're not able to afford proper knowledge in terms of paying for agronomists and so on and so forth. For the interest of time, the other one is knowledge gap. I mean, we are still using 1900 technologies to try and produce in 2020 and 2021. The other challenge that is still happening is that our populations are growing. The occupation we had in 1990s, in 1900 per square meter, and currently is very different. So that means we have not adopted to the right technologies that can be able to optimize in the kind of requirements that we have currently. The other one is that we have huge post-harvest losses that are normally at least 50% of what we produce goes to waste because of post-harvest handling. That is also another challenge that we are experiencing. It's an industry that has a myriad of challenges, so many at the various points of the value chain. But in my opinion, I think those are the key four challenges that are currently bedeviling this industry, especially in Africa.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Michael. I agree 100%. I think, people a little bit forget how much is actually being lost once you as a farmer have done your job and succeeded growing what you meant to grow. So then you would expect that the process will be finalized and 100% of what you have grown will then be sold to the market. But the problem is, like you said, it's a big chunk of that going straight into the trash bin, being perfect product. And this is also based on lack of logistics, distribution, and I think in general market extension solutions, right? Climate change, as you mentioned, and so on. Just an open question to both of you. As part of agriculture in Africa, one of the biggest challenges they're having is that the youth don't want to be farmers because they look at it as a sector with very few opportunities. How do you make the agriculture sector more attractive for the youth? And what are your thoughts around that? Maybe we can start with you, Simon.
Okay, thank you. Addressing that issue, for sure, over a period of time now, youth have been made to understand have learned to see agriculture as one of the most diminishing jobs in Kenya or even in Africa, by the way. And no one wants to be associated with the issues to do with agriculture, but there are so many opportunities in agriculture. Let's say livestock rearing. We can do also beekeeping. There are also teething. But you understand, when we were being brought up, especially in a rural setup, this is some of the work that your parents would tell you now after school, maybe this is what you're supposed to go and do. And you'll feel like they are punishing you. So I believe as a young person, of course, and this is what most of them feel like this is a punishment from their parents, because they never made us to understand that, for example,
Oh, I think you're breaking up with us, Simon. So I think I come back to you once we are, what do you say it? Once your internet is back. Maybe I can move to you, Michael. On the same question. Oh, hi, Michael. Hi, Simon. We lost you for 10 seconds, but you're back now. Could you please repeat?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. You were saying that working with agriculture as a youth, it feels like a punishment from your parents, and that they don't understand what you're actually doing or the potential around it. Could you please continue from there?
Yeah, sure. This is what I was saying. Even when you are growing up, and then your parents will not say, they will even give you advices. For example, if you don't go to school, this is what you will come to be doing this as like it is what you will be coming to do if you don't go and study hard. So you took agriculture as if it is a punishment, and as if it is a venture that you would want, you wouldn't want to go to. So that is what I believe most of the African youth at the moment feel, that agriculture is not an employment by itself. But to be sincere, we can make agriculture sound better to our young people, especially this growing generation, because we believe that agriculture is what contributes more, especially in provision of food and, of course, other resources.
I agree with you 100%.
So answering your question, so making agriculture attractive to young people. For example, we can use social media, and then we link like Facebook with social media. Some of these talks that we are talking in social media, we can work and then display our products, for example, in social media. At the moment, for example, I'm also a farmer, and I'm managing also a farm around here, doing dairy goods, for example. But most of the areas that we are using social media as our marketing platform. So if we do this and then people see on social media and they get to learn, oh, you mean agriculture can be this fun? So at least some of these young people, because they are in social media, they can get something from there. Number two, we can also strengthen higher education in agriculture. For example, it's so sad that, especially in Kenya, you find that a lot of people, yes, go to study about agriculture in university, let's say about biotechnology, they learn about irrigation, they learn about all those basics in agriculture, but none of them comes out and invest in agriculture. You find them searching for jobs elsewhere, not in the agriculture sector. So you wonder, for example, you are an engineer, you have gone to study about engineering, and then you come and do something else. Are you really adding value to yourself or like to the nation in general? So I think this is one of the areas that the education system should look at, especially to make sure that these people studying agriculture, they also have some knowledge about entrepreneurship, so that when they come out of school, they also venture in agriculture using the skills they have learned about sustainable production, about sustainable consumption. Then they can use all those skills to start an agribusiness venture. So number three that I would want also to talk about, we understand that most young people are also like ICT oriented. Like you'll find most of them have a phone, they have maybe a laptop nowadays, they have tablets, such things. So making these young people access information through these technologies that they have access to, especially information about weather, information about some of these profitable business ventures, and also other areas, and making them fun. I believe that it will have some impact on making these young people to venture in business, and of course empowering them. When you're growing up, don't make them feel like agriculture is not an investment. Don't make them feel like venturing in agriculture you are a failure. Because most of the people think agriculture in terms of taking that plow, going to the garden, tilling where it is not even productive. At the end of the day, you will just come back home empty-handed. But agriculture can give a lot, and most of the, these people, rich people, you find most of them have invested in agriculture, commercial dairy good farming, commercial dairy farming, all those chicken. All those are part of agriculture that people, young people can be empowered to venture into. And of course, making facilities accessible to them, like land. We understand, especially land ownership in Kenya, for example, is just left for the old people and those who were given the land by the colonialists, for example. So when a young person is growing, maybe you are told, you go study and you'll get your land somewhere else. But if you make them learn that they can also get a piece of that land, or you can use the same land with the family and till together, then you can get some input, or income from it. Then and making that land accessible for the young people. And of course, we are talking about finances to start, like startup cash, to start some agribusiness ventures. Then they can also venture into that. And finally, but not least, we can talk about value addition, where we can involve the young people Of course, if you're not you feel like going to the garden directly is a hectic, maybe for the young people, they can be involved in the value chain, especially at the value addition point, where like you get the products from the farmers direct, and then you add values and you resell those products. And with time, you find you would want to have your own land where you produce this produce, and then you add value to them and you sell. That one may attract more youth to agriculture.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Simon. I think you gave a very comprehensive explanation around, some of these areas. Michael, to ask you the same thing around, how you make the youth see more opportunities. Just to give you an example on what Simon said. So, if you listen to, for example, Akon, the former musician and now, investor, I guess, working a lot with electricity in Africa, but also now building his own city and also crypto and other things. One of the statements he's done is saying that the next millionaires and billionaires in Africa are going to come from agriculture. But when you speak with the youth, that's not the opportunity they're seeing. That's just one example of many. But what's your take on this? How do you make agriculture more relevant for the youth as part of an opportunity to actually build a career on?
Thanks, Jonas. I think Simon has alluded to most of the challenges that are making the youth not join agriculture, and also he's alluded to some of the ways to attract them. But I'll look at three. Number one, if you look at the way agriculture is branded in Africa, it's branded as a profession of the lowest cadre. So if you fail to get to being a pilot or a doctor, now you end up at a farm. It's also looked at as a low entry. You don't need too much knowledge and so on and so forth to get into agriculture. And I can tell you for a fact, no parents would like to see their kids coming back to farm. They all want to have their kids flying them around, being the doctor, being the teacher, and so on and so forth. So, and then also if you look at the way Kenya is, and I'll give you an example of the maize farm cycle in the country. So what happens is that in January, we will complain that we do not have enough fertilizer. The government will tell us, we'll give you subsidized fertilizer. And then at some point, they will say, we don't have enough subsidized fertilizer, so farmers have to pay a certain amount of money. Then farmers go ahead and plant their maize. 8 months later, when they harvest the maize, now the government says we do not have enough money to buy all your maize. So the farmers are left. So it's always a cycle of disappointment. And that is what we see in our news. So, as any other youth or any other young person, you don't want to be part of that disappointment because you see your parents, did all the work. Chances are, they borrowed money to just get the farm started. And then all of a sudden, they're also not able to sell that maize. And then within a very short period of time, and then we're importing maize again because we have a hunger problem. So what is happening is we need to rebrand agriculture. We need to look at it from a perspective of this is a product that is actually as good as a car. For example, if you're building a car and you're selling a car, you can also grow maize and sell maize similarly to the same systems, the same production process and processes as maize. We need to start showing that agriculture is any other industry. It's just like any other industry with various opportunities along the value chain, which takes me now to the second point. Agriculture is always looked at as only production at a production level. No one is looking at the whole value chain from land preparation or actually even getting that land all the way to value addition, all the way to marketing, including the support staff that comes in terms of logistics, in terms of knowledge brokering, in terms of value addition, in terms of marketing, because all those different skills, which most of the youth wants to participate in, you can take agriculture as a product and focus on marketing it. And just that. Or you can decide, your job is to simply manage the farms. You can decide you want to just be selling seeds and inputs and so on and so forth. So in my opinion, agriculture, if it's sold as a value chain sector rather than production only, then it will start looking attractive. And my third point is to engage the youth early. By engaging them earlier, start instilling the agricultural practices and their agripreneurship at primary school level. Because once they start getting oriented to understand that this is as good as being a doctor and that there's money at that level, they will start looking at it differently even when they finish school. They will actually choose to go to an agriculture institution, not as a last resort, but as their choice. All right? So I think number one is we need to do proper rebranding. Agriculture needs to be placed as any other profession out there. So markets, because I mean, in my opinion, apart from medicine, and medicine is still part of agriculture if you look at it properly, agriculture is the only industry that touches all our lives globally. We have to eat in the morning, we have to eat during the day and in the evening. We have to drink some juice, take some fruits, and so on and so forth. So if you look at that, then it shows you that there's a huge market on this. Then also look at your strength. Where can you plug in the value chain and make money out of it? You can decide to teach, I mean, be a knowledge broker, training the farmers or training the value addition and so on and so forth. You can decide to become a marketer. I mean, take the products from the farmers, throw a branding or a marketing experience to it so that it attracts the end consumers to start buying them. You can decide to be an aggregator. You can decide to provide logistics. You can decide to provide technology that is used to probably link farmers with transport systems that are around them or farmers with markets. I mean, the opportunities are so many. It's only that the whole industry has been sold as a very archaic industry. But in my opinion, I feel it's one of the most profitable industries if it's packaged well.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that answer. If you're looking at the what do you call it, technology as part of an opportunity in the agricultural value chain, what's your take on that? What opportunities do you see as part of, where technology could play a role in agriculture as part of driving productivity or any kind of areas? Yeah, Simon, maybe you want to start.
Okay, thank you for that. I hope you are getting me. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I'm seeing my network sometimes is being unstable, but it's okay. Huh? So, talking about the opportunities that could be in the agricultural sector, that especially the young people, because this is where we need to see a change, not only in biodiversity or other sectors, but also in agriculture. If we manage to get young people to venture into agriculture, then we might also be doing good to our nature and also to food provision to the world and of course to our nations. So one of the opportunities I see in agriculture is digitalization of the agriculture sector. And this can come through, for example, there's some people who have done graphic designing. There's some people who have done web designing, all those things. And of course, they can come up, like my friend was talking about, agriculture is not only about production. It has a whole value chain where young people can be involved. Even if they are not directly in production, they can also be in other areas. And digitalization is one of the areas where young people can use the digital platforms that are available to market farm produce, to market, for example, aquaculture, to market about anything like animal rearing, of course, zero grazing and such issues. And I've seen a number of people by the way, nowadays that they are heading to that direction. You find, for example, a poultry farm, they have a digital platform where maybe they are training young people and of course the public about, for example, poultry farming, using local methods, of course, maybe using organic methods. And that's an improvement that is showing that people are moving from old days of doing things to new ways of doing things. Number two that I will talk about is that we need to make young people see that to link the young people, the farmers, with the market. That is also another opportunity that if the young people are linked direct to the market and we remove the middlemen, for example, we shorten the value chain, for example. Instead of having the producer, we have a middleman, we have somebody else, and before it reaches to the consumer. Then if we shorten that value chain, I believe this is one of the opportunities that people can venture into, because they can be either producers, they can be somewhere in between for value addition, for example, or they can be at the end of the value chain, distribution and such things. Then, of course, another area will be about innovation technology. Innovation technology, especially, there are some people like, for example, they go to study only about biotechnology. In this, they can also specialize in issues to do with like tissue culture. Some can also specialize in issues to do with modern greenhouses. Of course, there are these technologies about greenhouses where it can automatically maybe regulate the conditions inside the greenhouse. Those are all the opportunities I see in terms of agriculture that if well outlet to our people, maybe to the public, to the world, I think some of the young people might also want to venture into. And then, of course, I have talked about biotechnology. I know in African countries, of course, we have demystified this issue of biotechnology, but it is not always negative when we talk about biotechnology. This biotechnology has been used again also in medicine production, but there is no one talks about it, but we still use those medications, and these issues can also be an opportunity in agriculture, but because there are some lay information about biotechnology, then you find some people tend to shy away from that. So this is a good opportunities where young people or any general public can venture into, but because of some of this information, then they tend to shy away. Yep.
Thank you so much for that, Simon. Again, very comprehensive and very an analytical approach to answering this question. Highly appreciate that. Michael, what's your take on this as part of technology and innovations role in agriculture?
Thanks, Jonas. Technology is literally becoming an enabler in every industry, and agriculture is also one of those industries that largely benefit from technology. So Simon has alluded to pretty much what I want to say. So, there are three areas, in my opinion, where I feel technology can be used to enhance or improve agriculture as a sector. The first one is mechanization. Nowadays, looking at the scale of farming that we do, there's some little access to mechanized systems, plowing systems, planting machines, and so on. So that's an opportunity, in my opinion, where technology, I feel, can be used. I see it largely in Europe and in America, where people literally, a farm of even 1,000 acres has about 6 workers. But in Africa, we are still very manual in our activities. So mechanization is part of the opportunities. The second one is ICT. We know Africa, especially Kenya, has a very high penetration of internet. Mobile phones is almost, I think, at 90%. I'm not too sure of statistics, but ICT can largely empower our farmers from knowledge sharing about markets, about new technologies, about new seeds, about new pests as information platform. It can also be used to link farmers with agronomists, like a platform called Agronomy Plus. Also link farmers with markets, with the various platforms that are there, like one that is in Ghana, I forget its name. And then ICT can also be used to inform farmers on challenges that are coming. For example, the locust issue. I mean, farmers can get information quite in advance and know what exactly to do. ICT is also used for insurance. I mean, nowadays insurance has gotten also into agriculture, and there are quite some number of companies doing this. I think the Pula are doing this. We have also local insurance companies, but you see, they use data. They gain data from farms. I think satellite data and so on and so forth, and also the normal ICT data from farmers to be able to assess the risks and insure the farmers, which again also helps farmers get cushioned against natural disasters and so on and so forth. The other one is seeds, and Simon has alluded to it. I mean, in Africa, we have a lot of mystery around biotechnology, where we fear, they're not even too sure that plant breeding is not GMO or what GMO is. And we are afraid of trying some of these new technologies, which are actually coming to help us with the climate change as a problem. So we still stick on our normal ways of doing things, yet we are living in an abnormal environment. So my opinion would be the opportunities in the three: mechanization, ICT, and seeds, especially new technology seeds. Probably with proper messaging and proper information through ICT technologies, then I mean those are opportunities that technology could take in impacting agriculture positively. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense with everything you're saying. I think that's just spot on. I would like to ask you a last question before we finalize this session, and hopefully you can give me a short answer to it. But a big agenda within agriculture has been pushing this input farming, where you have a lot of fertilizer and kind of inputs, and then you grow large scale and But something that's been looked upon when it comes to this kind of input farming, and mainly through organizations such as AGRA and so on, they've been receiving a lot of criticism as part of there is little what do you call it? There's very little efficiency increase. There's little changes that's been happening as part of the agriculture sector. Do you feel that the input farming is the way to go moving forward, or do you feel that we need to try out different approaches as part of agriculture farming in Africa? Thank you. Who wants to start? Maybe you, Michael, or Simon?
Yeah. So I'll go first. In my opinion, input farming is still one of the best ways to go. If you look at the countries like in Brazil, where they're doing crazy large-scale farming, and the Europe, I mean, input farming improves production crazily, and I feel that is the direction we should go, because currently Africa has the highest size or the biggest size in arable land, but we don't seem to gain any meaningful result out of it. So we end up being net importers of food, and largely it's because of our agricultural practices. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, input farming should be done, but most importantly, the knowledge gap, especially on the right inputs, soil testing to just understand what you need. Those are the information that needs to get to the farmers as soon as possible and as many times as possible, and also a proper explanation as to why they need to use some of those and how they need to use it. Because the other challenge is also how they put in the fertilizer, how they top dress, how they plant, and so on and so forth. So there's a gap on extension, but ideally, in my opinion, input farming is still the way to go. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. I agree 100% with what you said. And again, thank you for participating on this. I think this has been a very interesting discussion. Unfortunately, right now we are running out of time. So that's why I'm kind of forced to shut it, to cut it a little bit short. With that said, I would really like to thank you, Michael, for sharing all your insight and experience and expertise. Really, really appreciate it. Same with Simon. Thank you so much for participating on this session and also sharing your thoughts with the audience. For everybody watching live on Facebook or on YouTube, thank you for watching. We will soon move on to our next panel, which will be focusing on finance and tax evasion. For now, I would like to thank Simon and Michael. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Perfect. Have a great weekend. All the best.
You
Bye.
too. Thanks, Jonas.
Okay, you too. Thank you very much.